Right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We've got to address the elephant in the room right off the bat. Manual project tracking, it is dead. The days of acting like a walking, talking human spreadsheet, constantly hunting people down for status updates, yeah, those days are completely over. We've officially entered the era of the zero-admin, outcome-focused project architect. And honestly, if you want to not just survive, but actually thrive in this modern landscape, we need to completely rethink how we manage work. So, to get us there, we're going to rebuild your toolkit from the ground up. Here is our agenda. 1. The PM paradigm shift. 2. Architecting the work. 3. Predictive control. 4. The AI-powered lifecycle. And finally, 5. The future-ready PM. We are officially shifting you from a reactive task tracker to a true strategic leader. Okay, part 1, the PM paradigm shift. We are moving from manual tracking to actually delivering business value. For a second, we really need to shift our focus entirely away from the technology implementation and put the spotlight squarely where it belongs, on business outcomes. I want you to ask yourself right now, what business problem are we really trying to solve? Seriously, one of the biggest mistakes organizations make during any kind of digital transformation is starting with the tech. They'll say things like, oh, we need a new system, or we've got to have AI. But listen, technology is not the starting point, and it's definitely not the end goal. It's just an enabler. Organizations invest money to achieve revenue growth, or cut costs, or gain a competitive edge. So before you even think about software solutions, you have to adopt a business analyst mindset and ask this exact question. This whole journey is beautifully illustrated by the business analyst bridge. You literally cannot just jump from a business need straight over to technology implementation. You've got to walk across the bridge. Business analysis, requirements definition, and solution design. A really successful business analyst bridges that crucial gap between the technical teams and the business stakeholders. They make sure that every single requirement is intentionally designed to measure and realize true business value. Sure, AI can draft your documents now, but a human still owns the analysis and challenges the gaps. So the really crucial point here is understanding the stark difference between an entry-level administrator and a successful project leader. Projects rarely fail because teams aren't working hard. They fail because average workers confuse pure activity with actual progress. Administrators, well, they focus on the paperwork and reactive data logging. But successful project leaders, they focus heavily on preparation. In fact, studies show that organizations with strong planning are 2.5 times more likely to succeed. A robust plan creates direction, confidence, and momentum before a single task even begins. Moving right along to part 2, architecting the work or choosing your delivery methodology. This section is all about how we structure our teams to actually deliver on those massive business objectives we just talked about. Now, there is absolutely no one-size-fits-all approach here. If you've got crystal clear requirements and you need maximum control and predictability, say you're in construction, Waterfall is absolutely your best bet. But if you're building software and you desperately need speed, flexibility, and the ability to pivot based on continuous feedback, well, then Agile is definitely the way to go. But the choices don't stop there. You can optimize your delivery even further by looking at frameworks like Lean and Kanban. Lean is fantastic if your primary goal is to trim the fat, meaning you want to maximize business value while aggressively minimizing waste. Kanban, on the other hand, is highly visual. It's perfect if you need to visualize workflows to spot those pesky bottlenecks and really improve your team's efficiency and transparency. Now, if you do choose Agile, I know a lot of people struggle to understand how work flows from big, abstract ideas down to actual delivery. So let's use a house construction analogy to break it down. It all starts with an epic. An epic represents a massive business objective or vision that spans multiple sprints. Think of the epic as the foundational blueprint of the entire house. It's the big picture vision. From there, we slice that epic down into features or themes. These are major capabilities that deliver tangible value independently. Going back to our house analogy, if the epic is the whole house, the features are the distinct rooms, like the kitchen or the master bathroom. Viewing work at this level helps product owners prioritize exactly what the customer needs built first. Finally, we drill all the way down into user stories. These are the actionable work items that clearly define the who, the what, and the why. They are intentionally small enough to be completed in a single sprint. In our house analogy, this is installing the kitchen sink or painting the living room walls.
Agile delivery isn't about doing everything all at once. It's about breaking down all that complexity into these actionable stories so you can deliver value early and often. All right, part 3, predictive control, master planning, risk, and estimation frameworks. So we've structured the work. Now we need to anticipate what's coming next. Because great project managers don't just react to problems, they predict them. Here is the 10-step risk management process. Let's step through this logic rapidly. First, identify the risk. Because look, if it's not on the register, it simply won't get managed. Then, analyze the data, assess the significance, and prioritize your top 5. Next, you plan your responses, implement mitigation strategies before disaster strikes, and always have contingency plans ready. Finally, monitor, communicate clearly with the team, and look for opportunities. Yep, risk isn't just about downside, it's also about exploiting the upside when things go right. And speaking of uncertainty, how exactly does your team estimate timelines? If you're relying on a single, overly optimistic guess, you are practically setting yourself up for failure. This brings us to PERT, the Program Evaluation and Review Technique. PERT stops the guessing game entirely by calculating expected time using 3 specific variables: optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic estimates. It forces teams to account for real-world uncertainty way before it becomes a schedule-destroying problem. You can supercharge this predictive control with 3 incredibly powerful frameworks. First, you explore the risks using Monte Carlo analysis, which is a data-driven probability simulation predicting possible outcomes. Then, you discuss those insights using the fishbowl method. This is an inclusive, rotational team discussion format that drastically improves a team's collaboration and decision quality. Finally, you lock in your actions using Moscow prioritization, categorizing everything into must-have, should-have, could-have, and won't-have. It's honestly a perfect workflow. Moving on to part 4, the AI-powered project lifecycle, intelligent automation and clear communication. This is where we get to see how artificial intelligence completely eliminates administrative overhead across the entire project lifecycle, freeing you up to focus on high-level strategy. Let's walk through the 5 PM phases on this timeline, because AI fits perfectly into every single one. In phase 1, initiation, AI can take you from a raw idea to an approved project charter in days, just by analyzing business cases. In phase 2, planning, AI builds your baseline schedule and automatically flags risks. In phase 3, execution, AI chat assistants and procurement bots handle the heavy admin lifting so your team can actually execute the work. In phase 4, monitoring, AI moves you from just reporting what already happened to predicting what will happen, using predictive KPIs. And finally, in phase 5, closing, AI effortlessly automates your lessons learned and final project reports. But listen, even with AI doing all that heavy lifting, your communication to stakeholders still has to be incredibly clear. When looking at project health, utilizing simple visual indicators like green, yellow, and red beats dense paragraphs of text every single time. If a stakeholder looks at this, their eyes are going to immediately go straight to that red risk, phase 2 scope creep. They know exactly where their attention is needed without having to sift through a boring 10-page report. And that brings us to part 5, the future-ready PM, the path forward for AI project leadership. We are going to lay out the exact blueprint for upgrading your career trajectory in this AI-driven landscape. Because let's be real, the next generation of project managers will be AI project managers. I want you to guide your eyes up the 7-stage ladder. You start at stage 1 by learning the basics of generative AI and LLMs. Then, stage 2, you actually use it daily for planning and risk management. Stage 3, you focus on understanding AI business value, solving real problems, not just chasing shiny buzzwords. Stage 4 is critical, learning the unique challenges of AI delivery like hallucinations and bias. By stage 5, you need to stop thinking in prompts and start thinking in workflows, acting as a true system builder. Then you deliver your first AI initiative, and ultimately at stage 7, you're leading entire AI transformations. The future of AI belongs to the professionals who can turn technology into real business outcomes, not just the software engineers. But before you go out and transform the world, you have got to nail the fundamentals. So I want to leave you with this step-by-step project readiness evaluation checklist. These are the 8 essential processes that separate successful projects from absolute failures. From clearly defining initiation goals to mapping deliverables, identifying dependencies, balancing resource workloads, and deploying live monitoring dashboards, I highly recommend you use this checklist to evaluate your team's current readiness today so you can avoid systemic failures down the line. Which brings us to our final and perhaps most important thought of this entire explainer. A successful project is not one that is delivered on time and on budget. A successful project is one that delivers the intended business value. I really want to challenge you today. Stop acting as a simple administrator of tasks and start acting as an architect of true business value. With the methodologies and the AI tools we've explored today, how are you going to redesign the way your team's work gets done tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.